DPI index quiz. And the emphasis was on psychological preparedness, physical preparedness, and on the basis of response rate and the accuracy of the response. Now, of course, each age group and each professional level would have a different kind of questionnaire because their curriculum is essentially different. Now, I won't take too much of details into this, but essentially we're talking about what kind of things are going in the curriculum. There's a whole booklet on that. These are the things which are for knowing terror. You first test it before he comes in, you test it, his terror preparedness index, then what are the major incidents, then terror operatives, and there are forces against terror. I think as one of the panelists talked about, that we need to respect our police for days when there's no terror, and for that we need to know who are the people who are protecting us. So it's important for that to go across. Then early warning signals, we talked about how do you rent out your place, your house, your vehicle, your hotel, whatever. And then identifying, so we devised this pointed exercise of how do you identify a vehicle. One of the inputs was that, people, once they see such suspicious vehicles or people, do not report it properly. So it's very important, it's almost impossible for the security forces to come up with some kind of concrete design of what the thing looked like. So we had a pointed format, basically a 5-point thing of recognizing people and vehicles. Then dealing with threat calls, and then what kind of evidences terrorists sometimes leave behind them. And then we talked about dealing with crisis and reaching out. So what to do in different simulatory situations, when a bomb goes off, or when a gunman strikes, or when a hoax call comes along, or it's important to teach also how do you manage rumors? How do you not end up being the rumor monger? So those were the things. And then reporting, we talked about, Dr. Kalam also talked about it, how fishermen actually were unable to find a channel of reporting. So that awareness is lacking. Then, of course, hostage crisis and answering help. Now, this is the phase-wise manner which we decided probably to go about. In the first phase, we'll take up young students, and then we move on to societies and offices and private security guards, and then auto drivers and all those things. The plan was to start with 100 to 200 participants in each batch, and it can be done in local colleges or residential premises. And interested and talented participants could be incubated as further trainers. You see, I'll come to the next one. Yeah. So this is the model which I'm talking about, citizen-to-citizen learning model. It's important because it's probably not, this city has more than 1 crore people. It's impossible for the police alone to go on training each person. So it's important for people to incubate trainers within them and at least give the basic primary level training to each other. And that is a citizen-to-citizen learning model we talked about. Now, of course, the idea was to have a set of people in the first batch who will be trained by experts in the primary training, and then 10% of the trainees, which are made aware and action-oriented against terror, would, depending on their capabilities and interests, would be taken as further trainers, who would be given further training, the next level of the training. And now, these citizen trainers would be logistics. The logistic and the resource requirements would be met with the local, the police, and also the institutions, the educational or the corporate institutions which are participating. They will provide them with all the resources, and in their premises, these citizen trainers will end up training more people. And of course, then there's a feedback loop, which means that you have to retrain the person, you have to build upon his capabilities as a trainer. Now, of course, there will be an incentive mechanism for the citizen to be ending up as a trainer, which we worked out. Now, this is now something we also decided to take it to the next level of technology. Just a second. Yeah. So we decided to implement an IVRS system. IVRS is Interactive Voice Response System, which is essentially you dial a credit card service provider, and he'll tell you dial 1 for this, dial 2 for that, and all that. So that's the kind of thing we wanted to create a terror helpline, which is essentially, it's a training helpline, not a terror helpline. It's a terror training helpline where you can, using a telephone, you can access information against what all practices you need to do to avoid terror from harboring in your residence or your colony. Now, it essentially talked about, so I'm just showing you the model, which is one of the modules. So something like press 1 before you rent out a place, and then you go on further. So the entire learning would be available over a telephone. So you can always have a checklist available on the telephone. Of course, there's a website to it as well, but unfortunately, web penetration is not as high as mobile or a telephone penetration. So, what happened? Okay, not tapped. Okay, so what's the cost for it? Important question. For a reasonable in support, assuming there is a support system which is there from the government and the institutions, and including the one-time production cost, because there will be an investment in making the videos and the presentations and the material and the handout and the quiz and the website and the IVRS, you would come down for some, assuming there's a scale, it comes down to 10 rupees per aware and responsive citizen created. Now that's in standard IIM Ahmedabad lingo, that's like 1/3 the cost of a burger. And assume that if you hire a private security guard with a gun, you can, in the same annual cost, train around 20,000 aware and responsive citizens. Right. Okay. Do I have a little more time, or should I end? Okay, so I wanted to show you a video, one of the videos which we made, but it seemed to, can I take a minute? Okay, I'll take a minute. Okay, so I've stolen a minute. Okay. I think the audio is not connected. Anyway, it's not working, sorry. This is some technical snag we have again. Anyway, so the idea was that in each of the movies, we had a positive character who would show what to do, and a negative character who would be the evil guy, and there would be a guy who would be showing what not to do in all the movies. And we'll have different, we had around 8 or 9 themes of the movies. So that personification of what to do to avoid terror, personification of what not to do, and of course the traits which a terrorist leave are all threaded into one storyline. I would give you the movies, maybe you can show them later. Some audio is not connected. Anyway, so thank you for your time, and it was a pleasure talking to all of you. Thank you.